All right, great. Now we're all set to do an insert using actual data. I have some real data here. Well, I have some fake data here assigned to variables. Now, the idea for the homework is that you're going to loop through the JSON data. You're going to extract out the values that you want from JSON, and then you're going to prepare and execute an insert query with this data. So for right now, we have 4 variables with values in them, and we'll now use our insert query. And in fact, I can just use the very same insert query that I used before, but instead of putting in actual values, I'm going to put in question marks. Now, we have a very specific reason for doing parameter arguments and not inserting the values into the string, for example. We need the library to do what we call SQL escaping to make the query, make sure the query is formed correctly. For example, with integers, we don't put quotes around. Let's look at how we did it here. I didn't even talk about this, but these values are all integers, and as you can see, they don't have quotes around them. But this last one is a text field, and it does have quotes around it because it's a string. But or it's text rather, it's a text field. But generally, it's going to be a lot easier for us if we don't have to think about which fields are quoted and which aren't. What's more, it can be even worse. What if there was a quote in the data? What am I going to do then? Should I put double quotes around it? That's one thing I can do. Another thing I could do is just double the quote. I mean, this is actually legal SQL. To use a double quote, 2 single quotes together, that would allow you to insert a quote inside another quote. In any case, we don't have to worry about all these details because we have parameterized arguments, and it's great. We just put in question marks where we want our data to be executed or to be inserted, and then we execute the query with a tuple of the values that we want. Now I could have put real values here too, or rather literal values like 0 here, but for now I'm going to go ahead and put in the variable names of variables that we would like to include in our insertion. I'm making use of parentheticals to do this. Okay, if all is well, I'll be able to, oh, I see, I've made an error here. I guess I'm going to change this. Probably, maybe if you see this any later, you'll see it's something else. Directly connected is what it ought to be. I'll have to fix that. You may see that it's already fixed in your version. Okay, now I have 4 variables. I'm inserting them. If all is well, I shouldn't see an error. Okay, and I get that cursor response, and that actually, to me now, is a reminder that I have to commit my query. You always have to commit. Don't forget to commit. Now, why don't I make these values a little different so I can go and check it in SQL. I'll make it 100, 100, 200. Why don't I just change this to backward just for kicks, and I'll execute this again. I don't see any response when I execute, which is a good sign. And now I'll issue that select query again and see, there it is. Now actually I'm seeing different output here because I didn't do my mode headers, or was it mode columns and headers on. Now when I do it, there we go. Now you can see my very last row has those later values that I inserted, which confirms that I was able to make this code work with parameterized values in an insert query.